Today's 10-hour journey takes us from Los Angeles across the continental US into the Atlantic Ocean and over to London Heathrow, and today we're flying on United's Polaris business class, and I have it all for you, from the experience of the Polaris Lounge itself, which is an adventure of its own, to the in-flight experience itself, so stick around for it all. Most international flights at LAX depart from the stunning, high-ceiling, gorgeous, beautiful, full of restaurants and lounges Tom Bradley International Terminal. But not us. United departs a little further away from Terminal 7, which is basically one long line, but it's decent on its own. There's also a door that lets you in right into the Premier Access check-in lane, and people who can use this are United flyers with status and United Premium Cabin customers. Now, every major airline to exist in the US wants to have a hub at LAX, and United's definitely a part of that, but their operations aren't as big here, so the crowd is generally less and it's pretty easy to get through security. To get to the Polaris Lounge, all you have to do is keep walking until you get to the circular area, and then it's a very humble entrance off to your right that takes you to the second floor. And while we're making our way up, let me stop us here real quick just to go over the access rules. There are 3 different ways that you can access this lounge. The first and most obvious one is, well, you're getting on a Polaris business class flight, and the way United defines Polaris business class is their long-haul business class that's going to one of the destinations that you see on this poster. The second way is that you're arriving off a Polaris business class flight, as in you're coming off a flight from one of these destinations and then you're connecting onto a United flight to another destination. And the third way that you can access this lounge is that you can be flying on a Star Alliance carrier in first or business class to one of the destinations that you see on this poster. So the idea is that you have to be flying long-haul business class to access this lounge. No level of status will get you in, and that's kind of a good thing because these lounges are great and United really makes you earn it. Following a similar theme and color palette to some of the other Polaris lounges, this lounge is also stunning. But given LAX's footprint, this is also the smallest Polaris lounge, coming in at just about 12,000 square feet overall. But even despite that, it still has all the major amenities you need. You have the normal phone booths along with comfortable seating and as many power ports as you'd like. This place also had excellent natural lighting, which included great views of our 787 taking us to Heathrow, as well as other aircraft lined up along the terminal. As far as seating went, there were plenty of different options depending on your party size. The couches in the middle here were perfectly good for middle to large size parties, but then throughout the lounge there were plenty of tables and couches for smaller groups of people. And like all other Polaris lounges, there was a pretty well stocked full service bar, which had a variety of drinks as well as a section for some of the less exciting drinks. As far as food goes, the standard Polaris offerings include a good salad section, a charcuterie board with dessert, sandwiches, some fruits, and there's usually even hot entree items, but they were changing them out while I took this video. But you can expect things like pastas, chicken or fish dishes, some rice, and maybe even some grilled vegetables to go with it. Now, the buffet section is nice, but if you have time, I would highly recommend you indulge in the Polaris dining room. This is where they have a menu of a la carte options where you give them as many items as you want to eat and they make it fresh right then and there for you. And when you're done ordering the savory stuff, don't forget to save room for dessert, especially the cookie skillet. The table host will first take your drinks order, for which I went with a glass of champagne, and then came the salad, followed by the spring roll, followed by a nice cheese plate, and then a salmon, which was cooked to absolute perfection. And last but not least is the warm chocolate chip cookie skillet. Now I'm going to invite everybody to just throw your health goals out the window for 5 seconds and enjoy this with me. And of course, one dessert wasn't enough, so we also got the mango panna cotta. Now the dining room is not the only thing that's in high demand. The Polaris Lounge also has fully equipped shower suites that you can use, and these are also incredibly busy during peak hours. No, that's not the one we want. There we go, that's better. And as you can tell, the lounge also has a fully equipped telephone and rainforest shower. The toiletries like soap, shampoo, and conditioner are provided as you need, but I prefer using my own amenities for that. Now I want to reiterate that the lounge wasn't too busy while we were here, but the mornings can get incredibly busy with that Asia bank and the evenings with that Australia and Hong Kong and Beijing bank. Eventually we made our way down to gate 77, which is honestly just a short walk from the Polaris Lounge, and boarding was just kicking off. And since I do have 1K status with United, I lined up in the pre-boarding lane, but Polaris business class passengers all board with Group 1 otherwise. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Good one. After I was done, my sister was up next, and she ended up scanning my boarding pass by accident instead of hers, which caused the alarms to go off, and I watched in disbelief because I'm supposed to be the dumb one in the family, not her.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how about you?
Good.
United 787-9 has 48 Polaris business class seats distributed in a 1-to-1 configuration. If you're traveling alone, I highly recommend the odd-numbered window seats.
Yeah.
These particular Polaris seats have been around for about 8 years or so, and they're virtually identical across all of United's wide-body fleet. At each seat, you have the mountain of amenities and what I think is the best business class bedding on this planet. Now, looking at the seat itself, every seat comes with a nice side console where you can keep cups, glasses, laptops, and any other basic bookware. We did get a glass of sparkling wine to start, but unfortunately, my sister got way more in her glass than I did. What did I do to get punished like this? Alcohol aside, every seat has a storage compartment off to the side that you can push to open, and inside you'll find headphones as well as a bottle of water. Right below that, you'll find the seat controls and a universal power port and a USB-A port. And right below that, you'll find a magazine rack. Next to the TV screen, you'll find a coat hook, and if you place anything here, the crew generally pick it up and put it away in the coat hanger. And on the other side of your seat, you'll see an easy-to-use set of seat controls. Now, I'm 5'10", and the legroom itself was fine for me, however the foot cubby space was a little on the tighter side. This is where your feet go when you're sleeping, and there's more room here in the bulkhead rows, which would be rows 1 and 9 on this aircraft. And this area that's just about below the TV screen, I really only can fit my phone here, nothing else. And right before boarding, the purser had left a nice note on my table thanking me for my loyalty, which was honestly a nice touch. Speaking of our purser,
Flight time today will be exactly 10 hours. On your individual screens, you'll find a map guide giving you details with regard to our aircraft altitude, airspeed, location.
It's important to have your seatbelt on at all times. To fasten your seatbelt, slide the metal end into the buckle. Tighten the collision end of the strap. Lift the buckle thoroughly.
Your seat for the operation of the exit doors on this aircraft.
once we got up in the air, I started messing around with United's in-flight entertainment. It's really neat because once you kind of start using it, it gives you a game plan of what the flight's gonna look like from start to touchdown. They have an excellent selection of movies and TV shows, both for adults and kids, and routinely updated with the latest. And shamelessly, there are plenty of days where I'm more than happy to watch The Incredibles or even Finding Nemo. There's also a little side tab where you can get flight statistics as well as the full flight map from start to end. And the other nice thing is that the in-flight entertainment is really responsive to the touch, unlike a lot of other airlines out there. We were making our way through Central California, where a lot of farm produce is made, and at this time the purser Lynn came around to welcome us and thanked us for flying United once again, which I thought was a really nice touch. The menu was quite simple. It had two sides to it. The first side had pretty much all of the food items for the flight, and the back side had some drinks. And me being the alcohol tester that I am, I was definitely going to indulge into this. Though before I could fully unwind, I did have a little bit of work to get done, but now that my laptop is where my feet should be and my shoes are off, it's time to fully unwind. The purser came around with hot towels for everybody in the cabin, and I gotta say, this one smelled absolutely rancid. Usually the hot towels on United don't carry a scent at all, which is perfectly fine, but this one smelled terrible. I didn't want to put it anywhere near my face. With food and drinks on the way, it was time to open the tray table. To do so, all you have to do is push in on it and it comes out, and from there you can extend it or half it and move it around based on how you need.
So you wanted one dimmed or?
Yeah, I just wanted to dim this guy and leave this guy open.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah.
Sometimes it lets us, sometimes it doesn't. What can I offer you to drink?
Could I go for the cab and then some sparkling water?
Ice beer, sparkling water.
Just a little bit, not too much.
And any nut allergies?
Now, I don't have any nut allergies, however my sister sitting right behind me does, and all I'm gonna say is I've been waiting 2 decades to use the EpiPen just once. To start the meal service for me, it was a glass of Cabernet, some sparkling water, and warm nuts, and all I needed now was my Mission Impossible. However, my headphones were kind of messed up, so I couldn't really even plug them in, and as much as I tried, they just wouldn't go. So all that was left to do while I was waiting for a new pair of headphones was drink. At least the coat hanger was getting used for something on my end. Dinner was served eventually while I was still waiting for my headphones, and the starter and the main was served on one tray. They don't do this anymore, but while they did, I wasn't a big fan of it because while I would eat my starters, my main would get cold. Every salad that United serves coming out of the US is usually pretty dry, however the balsamic vinegar or whatever sauce you get with it generally makes it a lot better. The shrimp was a chilled appetizer and it was honestly perfectly fine. It wasn't too flavorful, but we're 36,000 feet in the air. I'm not expecting a whole ton of flavor, but it was refreshing and enjoyable for what it was. For main, I went with the classic seared beef short rib, and let me just say this, if seared beef short rib is not on your menu, you are not on a United flight, plain and simple. There is no United flight that leaves the US without at least carrying a seared beef short rib with it, unless you were flying to India. But in any case, this seared beef short rib was pretty good for an airplane beef and it was tasty as well. I enjoyed it. For dessert, I had a signature ice cream sundae, a cheese plate, and of course a glass of port. You already knew that was going to be in there. United's dessert cards generally consist of the ice cream sundae, a cheese plate, and some kind of cake. My recommendation is always take the ice cream sundae because even if you don't have space for the others, the cheese plate and the cake always become a part of the mid-flight snack, but the ice cream is always placed away on the dry ice for the rest of the flight. The meal service was pretty much finished, but port wine and Mission Impossible at 36,000 feet, don't mind if I do. The sun was setting just off our left side, however, because this was a summertime flight heading to Europe, the sun never truly set. It kind of just followed us all the way until we hit sunrise again later on. While this was happening, I took a quick walk and then came back to set up my bed. All you have to do is turn a dial and the seat goes from an upright seat into a fully flat bed. The United bedding is simply exquisite. You get a mattress topper, a duvet, a blanket, a thick pillow, and a gel cooling pillow to keep you cool while you sleep. There is no other airline that can compete with this bedding in business class. So if the alcohol wasn't going to make you sleepy, this bedding certainly will. United does provide amenity kits to Polaris passengers, and while I feel like the casing changes almost every other month, the contents inside are pretty consistent. These kits generally include a dental kit, eye masks, socks, some earplugs, and some creams, which honestly is all I need on an overnight flight. United is also generally pretty good about its Wi-Fi offering across all of its wide-body aircraft. After connecting to the Wi-Fi network, instead of waiting for that captive Apple thing to show up, I generally just go to unitedwifi.com myself, and here you can see all of the different options. If you just want to text somebody through either iMessaging or WhatsApp, that's completely free. You can do that free of charge, no problem at all. But if you need something a little bit more advanced than texting, then United does offer full Wi-Fi for the entire flight at $22, and this is the same price for all long hauls, and I think this is a really good deal. You can pretty much do anything here with reasonable expectations, but no videos and no phone calls. Getting 5 hours of sleep on a 10-hour flight is something that I would consider to be reasonably good. And breakfast was pretty much right around the corner, so I took the time to get up, reset myself, and use the bathroom. United's lavatories are stocked with the basic amenities, which include a hand cream as well as a facial mist spray. And if you know anything like me in my videos, I gotta get the face mist in, it's tradition. To be completely honest, I really don't know that face mist spray actually does anything for you, but it does feel refreshing after I wake up. At the same time, the crew were also getting the cabin ready for breakfast service, and the purser came around again for hot towels, and this time I had to make absolutely certain that my hot towel wasn't nasty. Food on United can be a hit or miss on any given day, but the one thing that I absolutely appreciate is that they will wait until the last possible second to serve you breakfast. On this flight and many others, breakfast was served about hour 20 minutes before landing, and that's much better than other carriers that serve breakfast 2 to 3 hours before landing. It really cuts into your rest, but here you get to maximize your rest, which is great. Breakfast is usually a sweet or savory option on United, and I went for the savory option, which was egg whites. Breakfast on United generally comes with Chobani yogurt, and my recommendation is always skip it. These Chobani fruit yogurts have a sneaky amount of added sugar, and it's just generally not worth it. The entree was honestly pretty good. The egg whites were rich and tasty and enjoyable with the pepper sauce that it came in. The sausages were also sweet and savory, really enjoyable. And in most cases, it's pretty hard to mess up fruits.
After qualifying purchases, plus an additional 5,000 miles after approval.
What on earth did we just hear? That was United's credit card pitch, and I can tell you it certainly wouldn't be a United flight without them trying to get you on the Explorer card at least one time. As we began our descent into London Heathrow, the crew finally let us undim our windows. That's one thing that I absolutely don't like about the 787. I want to be in control of my window, and they pretty much lock it for the entire flight. But I gotta say, the window unlocking was extremely timely because just as we got the chance to look outside, we got the classic central London view, which included the Shard, Tower Bridge, and Tower of London in this case. We then began crossing through Richmond Park and beginning our final approach into Heathrow. So with that said, let me give you my final Polaris rundown. Is it worth it to fly Polaris on this route? The answer is yes. Starting on the ground in LAX, you get access to one of the best business class lounges anywhere on this planet. The Polaris lounges in general are as quality and as class as they come. The seats are perfectly good as well. They may be 8 years old, but they provide reasonably good privacy, direct aisle access, and every seat turns into a flatbed. Now, not all seats are made equal in Polaris, but it's all on a first come first serve basis. The food is always going to be a hit or miss. The food on this flight was perfectly fine, but there may be plenty of other days when it's not. But the one thing that I always like to say is, the food is not the #1 reason I fly Polaris. If food is the most important thing for you, then you might as well buy an economy ticket and just bring a Michelin star meal on board. You'd save money that way. And the bedding is unquestionably the best in business class, so I'm guaranteed to get a good rest because United gives me everything I need to make sure that I sleep well. So all things considered, United is far from perfect, as is every North American carrier. However, when we're thinking about something as saturated as the Los Angeles-London market, this is a perfectly great way to fly across the pond.
To stand to begin to gather all of your personal belongings.